Hello again, Mo back in the Matthews Friends Keto Kitchen on the cooking channel. We've got a guest with us today and she will be able to answer a few questions that you may want the answers to, because she has a baby and her baby was put on the ketogenic diet at quite a young age. So her name is Catherine. Welcome, Catherine. Thank you for coming. So you started the ketogenic diet with your baby at a very young age.
Yes, Ava was 6 months and 3 weeks old when she started the ketogenic diet. She'd had symptoms of, she'd had problems when she was about 3 months old, and that was ultimately diagnosed as GLUT1 deficiency syndrome.
Right.
And then just before she was 6 months old, we had an appointment at Great Ormond Street Hospital with a dietitian and consultant who obviously explained what GLUT1 was and explained about the ketogenic diet. And then we were booked for her to sort of come in 3 weeks later to start the diet. So 6 months is when you start weaning a baby, and up until that point Ava had been exclusively breastfed.
Right.
And so obviously that was going to be quite a shock, and obviously planning, what I'd been planning in terms of weaning had gone out of the window, so I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen at that point. And then obviously we went into hospital a few weeks later to start the diet. I was expecting the breastfeeding to stop completely at that point, and was very pleasantly surprised when my dietitian said that she'd worked out a way that we could hopefully keep the breastfeeding alongside the diet. Rachel, our dietitian, had basically worked out using Keto bottles.
Right.
And so they were obviously in a particular ratio, and when she started the diet, she started at a low level ratio, and then over the next few days it was gradually increased. And the calculation was done was, if you like, the bottles had the fat in, and then after each bottle I would top her up to appetite with breast milk, actually breastfeeding on the breast. And then the calculations the dietitian had done sort of guessed that would then take it down to the ratio it needed to be. Gosh. And obviously the staff in the hospital, as each day went past, tweaked what was in the bottle so that's how she carried on breastfeeding. And at the same time we introduced solids.
So that's when you started weaning on this sort of food that we have here.
Absolutely.
And I think you're going to show us today just what you did.
Yes.
with them. So maybe you'd like to tell us what we've got here.
Okay, well this at this end here is very much the food that we started with in the hospital. So that's why there's a jar of pureed apple, because that was obviously sterile and safe for the hospital to use, but it's pureed apple, and then double cream and full fat Greek yogurt, and I was given some scales while I was in the hospital, and that would come in, and what the dietitian did was calculate all the recipes she created and that I went on to create after I came home with EKM that I was given by the hospital. Everything was based on one bottle.
Right.
So when Ava started the diet, she was on the equivalent of 8 bottles a day, and then we were introducing solids, one bottle at a time, and the idea being that as she developed in her eating and was swallowing more food, the bottles would be replaced with solids. So everything you see here was very much based on one bottle size, and as she got bigger then she'd have double bottle size recipes. So this one has remained a stable part of her diet throughout, and the fruit changes, and obviously it's got bigger, it gets bigger as she gets bigger.
Yes.
The other recipe created in the hospital was finger foods, because the dietitian knew my husband and I very much wanted to do baby-led weaning prior to knowing anything about Ava needing to be on the ketogenic diet. And that's very much being able to give your babies the food you're having without the salt added. Yep. So we thought again that wasn't going to happen, but actually the dietitian created a finger food recipe that was in ratio. And that was using it used to come up from the hospital kitchen, so we had avocado and carrots, and for the hospital they had tinned pears.
Yes.
And again I'd slice those into finger food slices in the weights that were needed, And I remember watching her play with them, and I used to think, right, she needs more fat than, so I used to kind of in my head think, right, she needs to chew on the avocado twice as long as she chews on the pear and carrot to try and get it right.
Get it right, yes.
As she's got bigger and I've got more confident, we've that you can chop and change what's in there. So obviously things have been sort of, so maybe replace the pear with raspberries or blueberries. In fact, you can even turn it into salads with different vegetables and things.
Brilliant. Yes.
So it's lots of little bit of maths, keeps your brain working. And then this recipe was very much probably the first one I created on EKM, and it's very simple cauliflower cheese, and that came about because I had my parents to stay and I'd done a roast dinner, and I really wanted Ava to have something that we were having.
Yeah.
And I'd cooked cauliflower because I was doing cauliflower cheese for the family. And so I quickly got out my computer in the EKM and sat there trying to calculate what I could do with cooked cauliflower, and then created a cauliflower cheese recipe, which again has evolved as she's got bigger. The vegetables change. Sometimes you can change it to vegetable and fruit and serve the cream separately to the cheese, but it's still a basic recipe now. And again, this was all of these are the equivalent of one bottle.
That's amazing, because that really highlights how you can just take something from the family table. I think a lot of people worry about, oh gosh, it's always got to be special and different all the time. Well, you'll find out in time it isn't, is it? Use your family table as much as you can.
And most importantly, Ava likes it, which is
there you go. That's the key thing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So you're going to show us how to make this?
Yes.
This one?
Very, very simple.
Great.
So you have your cauliflower, which is already cooked, and one of the things I learned on the Ketogenic Diet is if you use raw cauliflower, it's a different amount. So it's important to be aware that the food lists to make sure. So you'd have your measured amount of cooked cauliflower, which I'm going to cut.
Yeah.
And obviously, because she's little, you need to know it's going to be small enough that she can eat it.
Do you like if you've got cauliflower left over from the family dinner and it's not all used up, you freeze some and keep it for next time?
It's Ava's in nursery now, so quite often I'll leave things actually, and that'll be what she then has for a few days at nursery as well. And I can send it into nursery. If like the cauliflower will be cooked, but I'll put the cheese and cream on it, and then they'll heat it at nursery, so that it's sort of as fresh as if I make it.
Yeah, brilliant.
So that's really good. So there's your cauliflower.
Your nursery is obviously good at that, because this is something that families have to check with, isn't it, when their children go on to nursery and schools, to make sure that they will do things like that.
Well, what's been very good is I have had to provide the food for nursery. They did spend a lot of time, we had meetings, and but they decided it was a little bit complicated, but they go out of their way to help in terms of storing food, and they're even happy if I want to send in frozen things, they'll even store them in the freezer. Not that but they're very good. So then to that, it's a very small amount of grated cheese. So you've got 50 grams of cooked cauliflower. This was the equivalent to one bottle, and Ava's ratio was 2.5 to 1.
Right.
And then just 3 grams of cheddar cheese, which isn't very much. And what I keep telling myself is, as she gets bigger, the volumes will get bigger.
Yes.
And even now, as she's got bigger, since she started the diet, we still think in terms of bottles. Yes. So my dietitian and I, it's like she started off on the equivalent of 8 bottles a day. Now she's on the equivalent of 12 to 13 bottles a day.
So she's really increased.
If you like, she'd have double this amount, because she can have the equivalent of 2 bottles.
Great.
So then you just pour on your cream, and it's 13 grams of double cream. And then it gets zapped in the microwave until the cheese is melted. And it's as simple as that. And there you go. There's your...
Lovely. I look forward to seeing that when it's cooked.
When it's cooked.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, I've learned today,
Good,
and I hope you have. and I hope that you try the ideas that Catherine's come up with, and just carry on using the magic food.